Welcome to the Diadem. We are a small group, and I've written a book. This book was written to capture my journey from a lifetime of forced astral attack to poltergeist activity, navigating through the wolves of the corrupt and sold out church and the BS New Age, and finally, through a very small Bible study group and what we've learned. Believe me, I'm pissed right off. In the future, we're going to add controversial and truth-seeking Bible study series based on the lessons learned in this book. We may not have all the answers, but we've got a lot of them. And we hope you join us with an open mind. It's probably not what you think. Chapter 4, The Trinity of Laws. Never got a flash out of cocktails when I got some flesh off the bone. I never got a lift out of Lear jets when I can fly way back home. I need a love to keep me happy. Keith Richards, Rolling Stones. Happy. Strengthening our energy field can raise our own frequency and make it harder for the dark entities to attack. As a strategic decision to have me focus on raising my vibrational frequency before delving into the Bible was a pivotal move. By first healing and strengthening my energy field, I was able to align my heart, mind, and actions more closely with natural law. This alignment was crucial in enhancing my discernment and closer perception of absolute reality, as discussed in the introduction. Do not make the mistake of thinking I'm taking you down a path of New Age woo-woo. The New Age is seeped in just as much false teaching, manipulation, scams, and lies as any other path, including the church. In this chapter, we explore the foundational principles of the Ten Commandments, royal law, and the natural law. These laws aren't merely ancient directives, but are deeply intertwined, guiding us towards a more harmonious and balanced existence. Understanding these principles is key to aligning our lives with the divine order and achieving a more spiritually fulfilling life. This centers on the premise that understanding and integrating a trinity of action, mind and heart, and alignment is essential to reclaiming spiritual authority. Imagine a framework where actions, thoughts, and elevating frequency work harmoniously to achieve divine alignment. Now, the Ten Commandments serve as an elementary checklist of actions, kind of akin to a kindergarten syllabus. They provide a foundational guide for human behavior. For example, the first commandment, have no gods before me, as expressed by James in Acts 15, could be paraphrased into modern English as start here, don't engage in janky rituals and demon temples. Now, these commandments are practical starting points for those just beginning their journey. Jesus reunited biblical Israel by not only reestablishing the Sinai covenant 10 commandments, but he also elevated them to a higher standard of absolute morality. People often misunderstand the royal law as simply loving God and loving one's neighbor. However, the royal law involves transforming your heart and your thoughts while adhering to the 10 commandments through the lens of love for God and neighbor. This actually elevates the commandments to a higher standard where loopholes and technicalities are no longer valid excuses. For instance, avoiding adultery isn't just about physical fidelity, but also about purity of thought and intention. Theft isn't just about taking something unlawfully. It's about respect and integrity in all interactions with things of which we aren't the direct stewards. Now, this transformation from actions to transforming the heart and mind ensures that obedience to the commandments comes from a place of sincere love and reverence, not just legalistic adherence. Frequency work and awareness of natural law are often unknown, hijacked, and piecemealed by Gnostic or New Age teachings, or they're simply just misunderstood. We will introduce God's natural law, often hidden from public understanding, to be manipulated nefariously by dark occult practitioners and passed down through secret societies. These are the same laws that were used against me in spiritual astral attack, and they can be seen manifested in poltergeist activity in my home. We're going to uncover some of the methods these practitioners use to disrupt and dominate, shedding light on a hidden battlefield where knowledge of natural law is weaponized. As the old adage goes, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The implications of only one side knowing and utilizing these universal principles are profound and unsettling. If dark forces wield these laws without opposition, it distorts the balance, potentially leading to widespread deception and control. Knowledge and awareness become not just tools, but shields and weapons in the battle for truth and spiritual liberation. By continuously improving on the royal law's heart, mind, actions framework, as taught and exemplified by Jesus, individuals can better align themselves with God's will and natural law. This holistic approach ensures that one's spiritual frequency resonates with divine principles, leading to genuine righteousness. Jesus, along with James and the 12 apostles, emphasize obedience over mere Pauline belief. He calls people to righteousness, stressing that true alignment with God's will requires both inner transformation and outward obedience. God's natural laws, as we will discover, are in effect whether you choose to know them and obey them or not. This approach reinforces the importance of integrating action, heart, and alignment to achieve spiritual authority and harmony with God's natural divine law. Arguably the least favorite verse in the New Testament are hidden away in the book of Hebrews. So much for the Pauline, hippie, Jesus, faith alone doctrine of hyper grace. This false teaching has people running about, lawlessly proclaiming they just love, as they simultaneously follow the Luciferian doctrine of moral relativism. This is expressed in the famous Aleister Crowley quote, "Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law," which is a central tenet of this philosophical system called Thelema. Now, self-proclaimed Christians tack their definition of love onto that, cherry pick a few verses, slap Jesus' name on it, and magically they're free to do as they please in a way they define, ultimately becoming their own gods. Then they complain, engage in an endless loop of negative consequences, and blame God when their prayers aren't answered. Jesus becomes little more than a free ticket to heaven, while God becomes little more in their mind than a cosmic bellboy expected to get them out of piles of shit they just dove into and deliver what they want upon request. If he doesn't deliver, they blame God, themselves, those around them, when in fact, they're just ignorant of natural law and lacking in biblical obedience to Jesus' royal law set in place in the new covenant. If one continuously breaks the new royal covenant with God, or never enters into it to begin with, how then shall they expect to be under his service, protection, and grace? All roads lead to the doctrines developed from the words of Paul, either through things he actually said, or things that preachers and priests imagine he said, through endless arguments over his signature word salad. The damage done is immeasurable, on individuals, families, and society as a whole, across generations. If we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left, but only a fearful expectation of judgment and of raging fire that will consume the enemies of God. Anyone who rejected the law of Moses died without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much more severely do you think someone deserves to be punished who has trampled the Son of God underfoot, who has treated as an unholy thing the blood of the covenant that sanctified them, and who has insulted the Spirit of grace? That's in Hebrews 10:26 through 29. Now, throughout my journey, I encountered a myriad of supernatural experiences that eventually led me to a profound understanding of God's natural law. These foundational principles govern the universe, explaining how everything works, from the smallest particles to the vast cosmos. Grasping these laws allows us to decipher the world around us and recognize the forces influencing our lives. Reflecting on these elements led me to understand the tangled complexity of deceit spun through history. Biblical evidence, linguistic analysis, and historical context all merge to illustrate the ongoing struggle for spiritual authenticity. The lessons learned reinforce the need for discernment and alignment with true divine principles. According to Esther and Jerry Hicks, this emotional scale is a tool used to identify and understand a range of human emotions, typically a range from the highest, most positive, to the lowest, most negative states of mind. Now, at the top of this emotional scale, you might find emotions such as joy, love, and gratitude, which correspond to high frequencies and positive vibrations. As you move down the scale, emotions become less pleasant and more distressing, including feelings like anger, fear, despair, which are associated with lower frequencies and negative vibrations. Recognizing where you are on this emotional scale can be the first step towards emotional healing and spiritual growth, as it helps you to identify the areas in need of attention and transformation. By consciously working to elevate your emotions, you can align more closely with natural laws and achieve a higher state of well-being. So, keeping these in mind while exploring the natural law is a practical way to use this tool in everyday life. If you just go into a Google search and put in Abraham Hicks, for example, emotional scale will pop up. And you'll be able to see how all of these different emotions align themselves on the scale from top to bottom. Print that out, put it on your dashboard, hang it near your bedside table, put it on your mirror, leave it in the kitchen, slap it on the back of your phone. But keep an eye on it, because you might start at anger. Now, you might be able to move from anger to irritation by changing your thoughts and perspective quite easily, if you're able to control your thoughts and notice when they come in and when they go out, and choose the ones consciously that you want to invest in. The same thing can happen with your emotions. You notice the irritation and frustration coming in and moving out. So moving from anger to irritation is a big jump, even though irritation's not really great either. And then moving from irritation to boredom is another big jump. And from boredom, we're just a few steps away to hopefulness. This is what I mean by changing your heart and mind and starting to align your thoughts. When we actually become mature adults and realize we have the control over our thoughts and we have the control over our emotions, and that's our duty, right, and responsibility to take charge of those, observe those, and work to change those, our life becomes more empowering. The New Age would have you believe that all you have to do is run around saying namaste and think hippy-dippy happy thoughts all day. Well, that's not reality. We all get angry. We all get frustrated. We all get fearful. We all get bored. But having that emotional scale printed out and seeing how these emotions interplay and work on the frequency scale can really help you start to change your thoughts, your perspective, and elevate your mood and your emotions. Watch them come, learn your lesson, feel them, and let them go. That's the key to using this tool. And you can use it all day, every day, until you really get adept at thought jumping and emotion jumping. The esoteric natural laws. Now, esoteric or occult simply means something hidden, secret, or designed to be understood by the specially initiated. I, for one, am sick of their little secret handshake games, disinformation, half truths, lies of omission, and total victimization of humanity. Natural law in relation to the spiritual realm is no more or less relevant than laws of the earthbound sciences that were taught in school. However, somehow a select group knows these laws, and the rest of us just aren't in the club. Without these tools and understanding, we are lambs to their slaughter. A mistake is obsessing over and relying on these laws alone, diving headfirst into the New Age in its many cults. Another mistake is dismissing them altogether because the church said so. Law of vibration. At the heart of the universe lies a fundamental truth. Everything vibrates. This principle posits that all matter, thought, energy, are in a perpetual state of motion. By understanding that everything, from solid matter to our thoughts and emotions, vibrates at a unique frequency, we can become aware of how we can influence and be influenced by the vibrational states around us. This law is the gateway to understanding how our internal state can affect our external reality, how the small can influence the whole, or the whole can influence the parts. Scientifically, the idea that everything vibrates is supported by various fields of study. For instance, quantum mechanics suggests that particles exist in a state of constant motion and vibration. Molecular vibrational frequencies are well documented, with each molecule having its own unique frequency. And this principle is used in techniques like infrared spectroscopy to identify substances based on their vibrational signatures. The Gateway experience was developed by the Monroe Institute, and it explores the use of binaural beats to achieve this altered states of consciousness. This technique involves playing two slightly different frequencies in each ear, which the brain then perceives as a single tone. Now, this can help synchronize brainwave frequencies, leading to deep states of relaxation, meditation, or even out-of-body experiences. From an esoteric perspective, the law of vibration is often linked to the idea that everything in the universe is energy in motion. This energy can be influenced by thoughts, emotions, and intentions. For example, the concept of vibrational states in esoteric traditions suggests that by aligning our own vibrational frequency with that of the universe, we can achieve higher states of consciousness and well-being. Understanding the law of vibration can have practical applications in our daily lives. By becoming aware of our own vibrational state, we can work on aligning it with positive frequencies. Not only can this be done with our thoughts and emotions, but also through the foods we eat, the words we speak, and even things like aromatherapies and smells that go directly through the nose and straight to the brain. It can be achieved through practices like meditation, mindfulness, changing a perspective to more positive thinking. Additionally, techniques like biofeedback and sometimes even hypnosis can help individuals become more attuned to their vibrational states and make conscious changes to improve their well-being. Law of compensation. This principle delves into the cosmic scales of balance, emphasizing reciprocity inherent in existence. It suggests that the energy we emit, whether through actions, thoughts, or words, inevitably return to us. This isn't merely about tangible rewards, but encompasses the intangible echoes of our deeds, molding the entire fabric of our existence. By contributing positively to the world, we align ourselves with the cycle of giving and receiving, ensuring a more harmonious life experience. Now, from a scientific standpoint, the law of compensation can be seen through the lens of psychology and sociology. The idea that our actions and attitudes influence our surroundings and relationships is well documented. Positive psychology highlights that acts of kindness and positivity lead to greater personal happiness and improve social bonds. Social exchange theory further explains that human relationships are formed by the exchange of rewards and costs, suggesting that positive contributions are more likely to be reciprocated. In relation to the Monroe Institute and its studies on consciousness, the notion of compensation can be linked to the idea of energetic feedback loops. The Institute's research into altered states of consciousness through tools like binaural beats suggests that the energy we project can influence our experiences and the responses we receive back. These practices underscore the idea that maintaining a positive and giving state of mind can create a cycle of positive energy return. This law extends beyond the material realm, affecting our spiritual growth and evolution. The principle of cause and effect also mirrors this idea, where every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. Understanding the law of compensation can have profound implications for how we live our lives. By recognizing that our actions, thoughts, words, energy ripple out into the world and return to us, we can be more mindful of our contributions. The law of attraction. Often popularized in modern culture, this law asserts that like attracts like. It underscores the power of our thoughts and beliefs in shaping our reality. Positive thoughts and emotions attract us similar experiences, while negative draws more of the same. By cultivating this mindset of abundance and positivity, we magnify experiences that reflect this inner state, crafting a life of more fulfillment and joy. Now, the concept of the law of attraction can be understood through the lens of cognitive psychology and neuroscience. The idea that our thoughts influence our reality is supported by neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Positive thinking can strengthen these neural pathways associated with optimism and happiness, leading to a more positive outlook on life. Research on the placebo effect further demonstrates the power of belief. When individuals believe they're receiving a beneficial treatment, they experience real improvements in their health, even if the treatment's inert. This phenomenon highlights the impact of positive expectations on physical and mental well-being. The principle of mentalism states that the all is the mind and the universe is mental. This suggests that the universe is a mental construct and our thoughts and beliefs can influence its manifestation. Practices such as affirmations, visualization, positive thinking are all central to this idea. Interestingly, Jesus emphasized these in his teachings. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. You can find that in Mark 11:24. And in Matthew 7, verse 8, stating, for everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. I learned that aligning my thoughts and actions with positive intentions had a profound impact on my reality. Law of polarity. Duality is an inherent aspect of the universe. The law of polarity teaches that everything has its opposite: light and dark, joy and sorrow, success and failure. But these polarities are essential for understanding and appreciating the full spectrum of experiences. If you think of a dimmer switch, it's not just bright light and pitch black. Are endless gradients of light and darkness between those two polarities. That's a space often missed. So although the law of polarity asks us to look at those opposites and understand the yin and yang of the balance of it, they're also connected, because sorrow is simply a lack of joy, but it's also gradient. And you can move up and down that gradient when we start to recognize, well, the gray areas in between the poles, and understand that this polarity, they're still opposite sides of the very same coin. Acknowledging and embracing these contrasts and all the gradients in between that connects them, we begin to gain a balanced perspective, recognizing that challenges often precede growth and enlightenment. We also have to understand that these seemingly concepts are not just opposites. Joy is not an emotion on its own, but it highlights a lack of sorrow, whereas darkness exists due to the lack of light. And all gradients in between, just like that dimmer switch. Seeing these as related and intertwined rather than separate is a crucial understanding. Practices like keeping a gratitude or contentment journal, positive affirmations, thought jumping, or using the emotional scale can help shift your mindset towards the more positive part of that polarity, all the way through all those endless gradients. Visualizing and desired outcomes can help align your thoughts with your goals. Rejecting negative thoughts and just practicing this involves creating a detailed mental image of what you want to achieve, experiencing the emotions associated with that, rather than approaching a situation through a lens of lack and darkness, and understanding that you're simply on a gradient spectrum. Now, while thoughts and beliefs are powerful, they got to be paired with action. Taking practical steps can also, of course, help manifest your desires. Now, the law of cause and effect is often misinterpreted as the principle of karma. And this law states that every action generates a corresponding reaction, and it emphasizes accountability, reminding us that our choices inevitably lead to consequences. This understanding encourages mindfulness in our actions and awareness of the actions of others, fostering a sense of responsibility for the thoughts, energy, and action that we project into the world. Coincidence is simply the unrecognized effects of natural law. Consequences are results of our operation within natural law, both positive and negative. Effects are absolute, and without understanding of what has set these motions in action, we now become powerless, running around trying to clean up the effect without ever looking back at the cause. And this eats up all our time, so we're not generating our own effects through starting with a new cause. What's been done can't be changed, but what is to come is within our ability to impact. Most of humanity is living in a perpetually reactionary state to the effect of actions, thoughts, and intent of others, rather than shifting to operation within the realm of our own causation. Now, the scientific basis for the law of cause and effect can be found in various fields: physics, psychology, sociology, you name it. In physics, Newton's third law of motion states that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And it underscores the idea that actions have consequences, mirroring the law of cause and effect. It's used to predict outcomes in everything from mechanical systems to biological processes. The concept of causality in science examines how actions lead to effects is fundamental to understanding the natural world. But start to think about this concept as applying to the supernatural world, and you're starting to catch on. In psychology, the behavioral principle of reinforcement shows that behaviors followed by a positive consequence are likely to be repeated, when those followed by negative consequences are likely to be less likely to be repeated. This principle highlights how our actions lead to predictable outcomes based on the feedback we receive. The idea of learned helplessness demonstrates the impact of our perceived lack of control over outcomes because we're running around in the effects, never looking back to the cause, and never taking the powerful stance of beginning our own causation to reap those benefits and effects over time. Understanding causation helps individuals feel more empowered and in control. Understanding the law of cause and effect can transform how we live our lives. By being mindful of our actions and their consequences, we can make more informed and ethical choices. Accepting responsibility fosters a sense of control and empowerment. Recognizing that we have the power to influence future outcomes through our current actions, thoughts, emotions, and even energy shifts us to a reactive to a proactive stance in life. By integrating the law of cause and effect into our understanding of the world, we become more mindful and intentional in our actions. This principle reminds us that although we can't change the past, we have the power to shape our future through the choices we make and also the thoughts and emotions that we choose to participate in on a day-to-day and even moment-to-moment basis. I came to understand that every action, decision had reverberations in both the physical and the spiritual realm. It mirrors the biblical teaching, whoever sows injustice reaps calamity, and the rod they wield in fury will be broken. Proverbs 22:8. After understanding the law of cause and effect, my life was filled with instances where mindful decisions, energy, thoughts, and emotions led to positive outcomes, reinforcing the importance of living intentionally and with integrity. Now, the law of rhythm says that the universe operates in cycles and patterns, sort of akin to the rhythm of seasons or the ebb and flow of tides. This law highlights the importance of recognizing natural cycles in our lives. By aligning ourselves with these rhythms, we navigate phases of growth, rest, renewal with greater ease, understanding that change is a constant and cyclical process. In biology, like the circadian rhythms are a clear example of the law of rhythm in action. These 24-hour cycles sort of govern various physiological processes like our sleep-wake cycles, hormone release, body temperature. Seasonal changes affect biological rhythms as well. So some animals undergo the hibernation or migration in response to these seasonal shifts, highlighting the importance of aligning with the natural cycles for survival. Ecological cycles, like nutrient cycles, carbon, nitrogen, water cycles, they illustrate the rhythmic flow of energy and matter through the ecosystems. Understanding and applying the law of rhythm can help us lead more balanced and harmonious lives. But we also need to realize that momentum of these rhythms carries a lot of power. Timing is crucial. And if you're working or pushing against the natural cycle to try to force something when the time's just not right, you're not working with the motivations. I used to do sailing, and we'd get stuck in irons. Stuck in irons is when the wind's just not going anywhere. And no matter what you do with your sails, you're just stuck in this weird place where the wind's just not helping you out. You've got to make sure your boat is turned correctly and you're using the natural cycles of the wind with adjusting your sails and your rudder to use that momentum to propel yourself forward. You can't just sit in irons, forcing yourself against that wind and momentum and really expect to get anywhere. It's an exhausting process, even watching people try to fight against the momentum. Now, that doesn't mean give up. It just means be really aware of these cycles and when to wait, when to rest, when to act, and how to react to use these natural rhythms to your advantage. We have to recognize that emotions follow cyclical patterns, and they can help in managing stress and emotional fluctuations. Incorporating periods of rest and renewal is crucial for sustaining long-term productivity and mental health. By aligning ourselves with the law of rhythm, we can navigate life cycles with greater ease and adaptability. It helps us embrace change as a natural and essential part of growth. It allows us to work with momentum instead of against it through different phases with grace and balance. Law of correspondence. Now, this principle, encapsulated in the phrase as above, so below, suggests that patterns repeat across different levels of existence. This principle shows that the macrocosm, or the larger universe, is reflected in the microcosm, the smaller individual elements within it. What transpires in one realm often mirrors occurrences in another. What happens in the whole is mirrored in the parts. Now, by observing these patterns, we gain insights into the interconnectedness of all things. It enhances our ability to navigate life's complexities with wisdom and foresight. The concept of fractals in mathematics beautifully illustrates the law of correspondence. Fractals are complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. For example, the branching pattern of a tree resembles the branching pattern of its roots. In the shape of a coastline, looks similar regardless of the scale at which it's observed. In biology, the structure of DNA, cellular processes, and even the branching of blood vessels follow similar patterns, reflecting the principle that what is seen on a smaller scale is reflected on a larger one. Systems theory in science and engineering explores how different components of a system interact and influence each other. This theory can be applied to ecosystems, social systems, political systems, and even the human body, demonstrating how local interactions can influence the entire system. Now, the Monroe Institute emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things in their study on consciousness. Their research into remote viewing and altered states of consciousness, again, suggests that the mind can access information across different realms and dimensions, reinforcing the idea that understanding one level of existence can provide insights into others. Understanding the law of correspondence offers profound insights. By recognizing these patterns in nature, personal behavior, societal trends, we can actually predict outcomes and make informed decisions. This understanding helps in problem solving and strategic planning. In holistic medicine, the principle of correspondence is used to understand how different parts of the body reflect the whole. Reflexology maps show specific points to various organs and systems in the body, suggesting that treating one part can impact the whole. And observing personal habits and behaviors that mirror larger life patterns can lead to greater self-awareness and growth. By changing small, manageable aspects, we can influence larger outcomes. Engaging in spiritual practices that promote harmony and balance on a personal level can reflect positively in broader aspects of life. Now, by integrating the law of correspondence into our understanding of the world, we can better appreciate the interconnectedness of all things and navigate life with greater wisdom. It highlights the importance of patterns and reflections, encouraging us to look beyond the surface to see the deeper connections in all aspects. I knew that events in the spiritual realm often had direct impact on the physical world. And this aligns with the biblical notion of interconnectedness seen in the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6. Kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The law of gender. Beyond the physical distinctions, this law addresses the dual aspects of masculine and feminine energies present in all things. It underscores the necessity of balance and harmony between these forces. By integrating both nurturing or feminine and assertive or masculine qualities, we achieve a holistic and balanced approach to life's challenges. While physical distinctions are evident, the concept of psychological and behavioral traits also highlights masculine and feminine qualities that exist within all individuals. Psychology explores traits often categorized as masculine, like assertiveness and competitiveness, more aligned to the left brain, and feminine, or nurturing and empathy, intuitiveness, as more of the right brain. And research shows that a balanced integration of these traits, brainwaves, energies, and functioning leads to well-rounded personal development and mental health. Now, in esoteric traditions, the law of gender is associated with like yin and yang principle in Taoism, which symbolizes the interplay between opposites. The balance of these energies is essential for harmony and equilibrium, but it's also essential to our thought. If people are too heavy in one side of the brain or one side of their energy, in not nurturing, exploring, and strengthening the other side, well, it's easy to see that you're not operating in balance. So you can imagine the controllers pumping in over emotionality and fear, or rigidity and anger to different sides of the political spectrum. They really don't care what side you're operating on, as long as you're not operating in balance. Because the balance of these energies is essential for harmony. Understanding and applying this law of gender can lead to a more fulfilling life. Cultivating both nurturing and assertive qualities can lead us to more success. Developing empathy and compassion, right alongside confidence and decisiveness, create a well-rounded person, well-rounded emotions, well-rounded thought, and well-rounded actions. In relationships, that balance between giving and receiving, leading and supporting, enhances mutual respect. Open communication with assertive expression and empathetic listening strengthens bonds. Effective leadership requires a balance of both of these traits. By integrating the law of gender into our lives and understanding how our brains work within these and our energies work within this model, and also being aware of which side we tend to lean towards, and enhancing, supporting, and building the weaker side, well, not only do we take control away from the controllers, but we bring more control to ourselves. It reminds us that balance and harmony between these energies are essential for navigating the rhythms and changes and challenges of life effectively. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy says that energy is in a constant state of flux, always transforming from one form to another, and this empowers us to transform our internal states and shape our reality. This principle underpins the idea that our thoughts and actions, which are just forms of energy, influence our reality. Changing our thoughts and actions transform our emotional and physical states, leading to improved circumstances and well-being. Far too often in our world, adults seem to be running around, guided and led into action by their emotions. That's really backwards and extraordinarily immature. And I would even argue dangerous. If you switch that around and realize that your thoughts influence your emotions, putting your thoughts first, it helps you in mental and emotional regulation. Frankly, you grow up. For example, focusing on gratitude, love, kindness, or even moving from blame to boredom on that emotional scale, well, it can definitely elevate our mood and our thoughts and attract positive experiences. But these lower vibrational thoughts, being driven by our emotions, leading to action, perpetuate feelings of despair, hopelessness, fear, and stagnation. We've got to consciously direct our energy and thoughts higher so we can harness the power to shape and improve our emotions and our lives in an active way. This law empowers us to be the architects of our own reality, highlighting the profound impact that our internal world has on our external experiences and how to harness the power of thought to influence our emotions and our actions, bringing all of those into alignment with each other. The law of relativity. This law shows that all experiences and perceptions are relative, and they must be understood in relation to something else, encouraging us to maintain a balanced and open-minded perspective. It suggests that nothing can be judged or evaluated in isolation. Its value and meaning depend on the context and comparisons we make. For instance, a situation that seems challenging may appear less daunting when compared to a more severe hardship. This law teaches us to adopt a balanced and open-minded perspective by recognizing that our perception of reality is shaped by our experiences and the comparisons we draw. If you'd like to see how this is being manipulated in our time, turn on the news. They're constantly comparing things and putting these metaphors and comparisons into your mind to force you to think a certain way about the world around you. This law encourages us to appreciate the relativity of our circumstances and reality, which can lead to greater empathy, resilience, and understanding. By applying the law of relativity, we can reframe our experiences and really look at the things we're being told. We can find gratitude in adversity and maintain a sense of equilibrium. The principle of mental focus. Now, this isn't really a natural law, but we're going to throw it in. This principle emphasizes the power of concentrated thought. Being able to focus your mental energy brings clarity and precision in our actions. We can use meditation, the Orthodox Jesus prayer, and mindfulness to enhance our mental focus. By training the mind to concentrate on a single task, well, it improves cognitive functions and reduces mental clutter. Neuroplasticity supports the idea that focused mental activity can reshape the brain. Repeatedly engaging in activities that require concentration strengthens neural connections related to those tasks, improving overall cognitive function. Research shows that attention is a limited resource. Practices that enhance focus can improve executive functions like problem solving, planning, and impulse control. Studies of mindfulness meditations found that regular practice increases the thickness of the prefrontal cortex in the hippocampus, areas of the brain associated with attention, memory, and emotional regulation. By understanding and applying the law of mental focus, individuals can harness the power of concentrated thought to enhance clarity, precision, and overall cognitive function. This underscores the importance of mental discipline in achieving personal and professional goals and fostering a more focused and fulfilling life. That leads us right into the principle of emotional regulation, because emotions, a lot like waves, can be regulated through understanding and practice. Maintaining emotional control and balance and resilience is crucial. Everything from deep breathing, paying attention to that emotional scale, and increasing awareness exercises help manage stress and anxiety. Understanding triggers and practicing emotional intelligence are also key components. Now, pioneered by psychologists like Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions and those of others. High EI is associated with better mental health, improved relationships, greater professional success. Neuroscience shows that the brain's ability to rewire itself, or neuroplasticity, allows individuals to improve their emotional regulation through consistent practice. By embracing the law of emotional regulation, we can cultivate a balanced emotional state, enhancing overall well-being and resilience. This principle underscores the importance of understanding and managing our own emotions through various techniques, from thought jumping to breathing exercises. The natural laws offer profound insights into how we can align our lives with the fundamental principles of the universe. These laws guide us in understanding the flow and transformation of energy, as well as the relative nature of our experiences. There's a ton of scientific research from the Heart Math Institute, and other studies provide empirical support for these concepts, demonstrating their practical applications in our daily lives. The Heart Math Institute has conducted extensive research on the connection between emotions, heart-brain communication, and overall well-being. It explores how the heart and brain interact to manage stress, increase coherence, and deepen our connection to ourselves and others. Studies on heart rate variability demonstrate that by practicing heart-focused techniques, individuals can improve their emotional balance, health, and performance. And those studies were done at the Heart Math Institute in 2024. At HMI, or Heart Math Institute's Global Coherence Monitoring System, it investigates how geomagnetic fields and solar influences affect human health and behavior, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all things. This research aligns with the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, showing how our thoughts and actions transform our emotional and physical state. Additionally, the concept of emotional balance and free energy principle helps to define how emotions like happiness, fear, relief can be understood through these changes in energy states. Studies on emotional regulation highlight the importance of goals and situational factors in choosing emotion regulation strategies. And it emphasizes the role of context in our emotional experiences. That's a study from Chalmers in 1995. Understanding and applying these natural laws, which are supported by scientific insights, allow us to navigate our lives with greater awareness and greater intention. By integrating these principles with the findings from places like HMI and other research, we can enhance our emotional well-being, improve our coherence, and foster a deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. The 10 Commandments and natural law. Now, throughout my journey, I came to realize that the 10 Commandments are deeply entwined with God's natural law, reflecting universal principles governing both the spiritual and the earthly realms. These commandments provide a baseline for our actions, which King Jesus elevated to encompass our heart and mind, providing a moral compass that aligns human interactions with the underlying fabric of the universe, the natural law set in place by God. The interconnections of the 10 Commandments with natural law are seemingly endless. Once you begin to align your heart, mind, and actions, you'll begin to see powerful interrelationships between them as you continue to grow. Now, I'll just give you a few examples of this divine sympathy of laws You shall not have other gods before me, and you shall not make for yourself a carved graven image. Well, these speak to the law of vibration, emphasizing the importance of aligning our highest energy with the divine. And by manifesting our spiritual focus on the ultimate source, we ensure that our energy remains pure and unwavering. Or the law of cause and effect, because idolatry diverts our spiritual energy from the true path, leading to a whole lot of negative consequences. By avoiding the worship of false idols, we remain in alignment, connection, fidelity, and loyalty to God. And we remain authentic in our worship throughout our spiritual journey. It also speaks to the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Creating idols or having other gods diverts our spiritual energy away from the source. And this commandment encourages us to focus our energy on worshiping God, the ultimate source of all creation. Psalm 115, 4-8, describes idols as silver and gold made by human hands, contrasting them with the living God who transforms our lives. You shall not take the name of your Lord God in vain. That speaks to the law of attraction and speaking God's name with reverence, attracting that positive spiritual energy. It reminds us to honor the divine in our thoughts, words, and heart, fostering a respect and uplifted mindset. Also, the law of vibrations at work here. Taking God's name in vain lowers the vibrational frequency of your words and thoughts, dishonoring the sacred. The commandment calls us to speak with reverence and respect, recognizing the power of words to elevate or to diminish. In Matthew, Jesus warns, but I tell you that everyone will have to give an account on that day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words will you be condemned. Now, this highlights the intent behind our words and the importance of keeping our expression of that intent pure. And we'll revisit Matthew 12 when we take a look at the Greek a little bit, because you're going to have to get a rima for every logos. That's two very different meanings of those words. And we'll break it down a little bit later once we have some Greek under our belt. Remember the Sabbath, keep it holy, can speak to the law of rhythm. Observing the Sabbath is sort of like your divine doctor's appointment where God can work in you and through you and with you. And honoring the Sabbath honors the natural cycles of rest and work. This balance is essential for maintaining our spiritual and physical well-being by respecting those natural rhythms of time. Honor your mother and father is the law of correspondence, the law of compensation, for example. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, bear false witness, and coveting. All of these speak to the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, focus of mind and emotions, law of cause and effect, law of compensation, law of gender, and their law of polarity. Understanding the sanctity of life and the destructive nature of taking it in all forms helps us to respect and value its opposite, the preciousness of life and creation. These commandments highlight the significance of balance and sacredness in relationships. It respects both masculine and feminine energy, striving for balance and harmony and integrity in our interactions. It speaks about being good stewards and respecting what isn't ours and how it disrupts the natural balance of giving and receiving. Honoring the principles of fairness, not creating a ripple effect of mistrust and harm, and disrupting the integrity of our actions, relationships, words. They emphasize the importance of truthfulness and authenticity. As I began to delve deeper into my experiences, I discovered that the royal law, as stated in the Bible, complements and elevates the principles of the Ten Commandments. Now, the royal law is often summed up as love your neighbor as yourself. And it's not merely a moral guideline, but it's a profound principle that harmonizes with each tenet of the covenant laws of Sinai. In Luke 6:38, it states, give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. While the commandments are very much action-orientated, Jesus elevated that law to encompass both the heart and the mind. aligning one with the principles of God's natural law. He promoted balance, positive energy in all of our interactions and relationships, both with our fellow man and with God. Love is one of the highest vibrational states. Loving others mirrors the love and respect we should have for ourselves, promoting self-compassion and empathy, aligning with the law of correspondence. And by loving others authentically as ourselves and as themselves, we elevate our own vibrations, creating that ripple effect that positively influences those around us. In James 2, verse 8, the royal law is described as, if you really keep the law found in Scripture, love your neighbor as yourself, you're doing right. And by embodying this principle, I discovered that my interactions and relationships are more harmonious and fulfilling, with healthier boundaries. Loving others authentically and autonomously attracts love, positive experiences, and creates a cycle of goodwill and harmony, fostering a supportive and nurturing environment. Matthew 22, verses 37 through 39, Jesus says, love the Lord God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. This is not the whole of the law, but it shows how the commandments can be classified into these two categories. 1 John 4, verse 20 says, whoever claims to love God, yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. Whoever does not love their brother or sister, whom they have seen, cannot love God, who they haven't seen. James supports this in his letter. Therefore, to him who knows to do good and doesn't do it, to him it is a sin. That's in 4:17. Aligning to the natural law, the elevated royal law focused on the power of our heart and thought, generating positive reactions and outcomes, reinforcing the idea that not only our actions, but our thoughts and feelings shape our reality. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. There's Mark 11:24 again. My experience has underscored the importance of understanding natural law and its principles. The entities were using the very laws that govern our existence to manipulate and instill fear. By harnessing these principles, I could begin to protect myself and those I loved. They provided the seeds to eventually synthesize the principle that living in understanding and obedience to Jesus's teachings will align you with God's natural laws and could offer not only protection, but the needed arsenal of weapons in spiritual warfare. By integrating the 10 Commandments, the royal law, and natural law, we create a comprehensive framework for spiritual growth and alignment with divine principles. This trinity of laws offers a path to a balanced and fulfilled life, resonating with both ancient wisdom and modern understanding. Now, in the introduction, we discussed the challenge of navigating the murky waters of perception and aligning ourselves with absolute truth, at least a little more closely. Now, with a deeper understanding of natural law, let's revisit some of those foundational ideas. Reflect on how these universal principles shape our reality and consider, how do the 10 Commandments guide my actions? And in what ways can I elevate my practice through the royal law? And how does understanding of natural law enhance my personal spiritual journey? You can get a whole lot more on natural laws. There are some out there like Mark Passio does really great work on this, and many other presenters, books, and authors. We'll share some of those in our bibliography at the end of this book. And stay tuned where we're going to dig a little deeper into the dark manipulation of natural law. Because consider this. If you're playing a game but are unaware of the rules, how can you ever hope to win? In the realm of spirituality and metaphysics, not all practices are aimed at enlightenment and goodwill. And keep in mind, the church is telling you what they need to keep power and control and keep those dollars flowing in. The New Age is telling you just what they choose to slip out and make you aware of. But they're not going to give you all the information. You're going to have to dig and do your own work. There does indeed exist a much darker side where malevolent forces and dark occult practitioners manipulate natural law to exert control and instill fear. And frankly, I am pissed right off about it. We'll talk about that next.